Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent experiences in business.
Learn what their cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again. Well, hello, cohesive leaders. It's Ben-Jamin here with Dr. Troy, and we are joined by Deborah Heiser. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. Well, we get started in the same type of way everybody's been accustomed to at this point. We want to know something about you, not on your resume or LinkedIn profile. So nothing work-related or something you did that that has either moved off or not pertinent to your work today. So tell us something about you.
Okay. I am a mom of a 21-year-old and soon to be 20-year-old. And so I'm a baseball mom. I've gone to tons of tournaments over the years. And I also like to play pickleball.
Oh, I played pickleball for
nobody
an
really knows
hour and a half this morning. So I love it. Now, the way you paused with the 20-year-old, I thought you were about to say I'm a mom of 20 children. And so I was like,
yeah. No, I would not have the energy to be sitting here if that were the case. 2 boys wears me out.
Nice. Yeah, I can certainly understand how that goes. Yeah. So it's we have a multi-generational family. So our daughter, husband, and 4 kids live on one side of our home, and then my wife and I live on the other.
Oh, that's nice.
Actually, on the pickleball side of things, I just recently got the bug within the last 3 months, but I've actually done a podcast on pickleball about how we can apply our POWER acronym to a new sport or a new thing, which is about preparing your mindset, owning values. And so I came into the sport wanting to be positive and compliment everybody. And these are new people to me. So I wanted to make sure I was living my values out when I was doing this. So
and then you smack the ball across the net to
but I still lose a little more than I win at this point. So all right.
So Deborah, this is a great opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about you. So there's a couple of ways that we approach this, or at least there's 2 parts that we approach it, is that, oftentimes people will focus on their role and tell you who they are and describe themselves based on that role. And that becomes their identity. But truly it's not. The identity that you have are the characteristics or the values that reflect you. So we'd like to separate this, and we want to start with who you are as a person. So use some descriptive words that either you want others to maybe make sure they say about you when you're not around, or they're just words that you yourself like. And this will be an opportunity to talk about your identity. Let's do that first, and then we can move into the roles that you play.
All right. I guess some words that describe me are wife, mom, connector, someone who loves a dinner party. I would also say that I'm somebody who likes to blend the line between work and non-work. I don't know if that's helpful in describing me without saying what I do.
Well, okay, good. But you also included some titles in there, and that's okay. So this isn't a test, and so you didn't fail. But let's talk about words such as energetic. You are assertive. What are some of those types of characteristics that describe you?
Okay, so I am, if we're going to go that route, I am somebody who is really kind and looks to really help others, but don't cross my path. And so that is, I have kind of 2 sides to me. I'm very protective of others, but I also want to make sure that I get to highlight others and see others succeed. So I'd also say that I really am solution focused. If there's a problem, I want to try to solve it. I'm very achievement motivated. So I'm competing with myself, not somebody else. So, on a pickleball court, I'm not somebody who really cares if I win or lose. I want to see if I did better than I did the last time and have a good time with other people. So I guess that's sort of a summary of me. I really like being around people. I really enjoy in work or in personal life being around others and achieving something or solving problems.
Okay, that was great. I really feel like I had a better feel for you now.
We like going that route because titles are going to change, roles are going to change,
Yeah.
but hopefully that character, those values, those things that you have are going to be what people remember of you, right? It's how
Yeah.
you make people feel, not what you did for them, right? So
Mhm.
we have all these careers in our life, so that's why we like to start differently, because you are more than any role or title you have.
And you'll notice that, and why we went back to it was what you did was very typical. Most people start out, even though I said choose a description, choose this, we start talking about the type of person that we are based on the role that we play. And
Mhm.
and those are great and powerful roles. And certainly when you mention mom, I mean, that's a big role that we certainly don't want to downplay, but it comes later now.
Yeah.
Now, because you have a personality and you have these things about you, and then now they can wrap into your role. People have a better feel for who you are. So now talk about your job. Talk about, well, we know a little bit about mom. We already got that with the 20-year-old and some baseball. So let's talk about your other roles at maybe in your profession.
So I am currently, I just wrote a book, The Mentorship Edge, and I have been leading the Mentor Project for about 8 years. And I'm getting ready to pivot to start another company. And so, in terms of my titles and what that entails, I guess I'm a serial founder. Um, and that probably falls in line with I'm somebody who likes to solve a problem. If I see there's something out there, I like to create something that can make a solution to something.
Great.
How long have you been a founder? When did you get the entrepreneur bug? And how long were you in? Was it corporate America? Were there W-2 jobs along the way?
So I guess if you were to think about it, when I was in my early 30s, I started a research division of a company. They didn't have any research, and I started that. So I didn't found a company, but I founded a new way of working in a division there doing research. I'm an aging specialist, so it was doing aging research in a place that hadn't done it before. But I since pivoted to a nonprofit, 501(c)(3), and I've been doing that for 8 years and running that, and that's the Mentor Project. So different kinds of founding. The next one will be a for-profit. So I'm kind of dipping my toe in each area so I can learn something new.
Yeah, sounds great. So what is the uh-oh experience that you brought to the show that you're going to share with us here on the show today?
It was a big one, and it is a personal one. As I mentioned, I started out in the field of aging, and it was, I was, when I was young, I'm a first gen college student. I didn't really, I was kind of in college floundering about what I wanted to do. And I decided I wanted to focus on aging because my grandma was like the coolest lady ever. And so I wanted to be somebody who could help grandmas out there. So I went full force looking at everything no one wants to have or get as a researcher after I finished graduate school, and was really quite thrilled with myself. Like I was really thinking, I'm great. And I had just written a book and I was doing all kinds of research on frailty and depression and Alzheimer's disease. And, you know, I couldn't understand why people didn't love my conversations at cocktail parties. They would kind of run away when they got near me and I talked about what I did. But one night I was at a dinner party and somebody asked, we all went around the room and somebody said, "What do you want to tell us about yourself?" And I started telling them. And I really thought that they were all going to be like thrilled to hear what I had to say. And they weren't. And the person across from me said, "So what do we have to look forward to as we get older?" And here I am, I'm running a research division that I had just started and founded at a very large organization. And I had an at-home moment like, I don't know. I didn't know at all. I had no idea. So I'm
Mm.
researching one side of the coin, and I couldn't tell him what we had to look forward to. I even couldn't tell myself. So I knew that our life looking forward was not depression, frailty, and Alzheimer's disease, but I had never even thought about what that other side of the coin looked like. And so that whole moment really sent me spiraling. And I left that meeting. I can still see that person's face across the table from me talking about that. And I went back and I said, uh-oh, I have to look at what we have to look forward to. And I had to go all the way back to the beginning of looking at developmental psychology and what our lifespan looks like, and pivot and start to look at what we have to look forward to. And that was, I mean, I had to then start to convince people that we needed to look at things to look forward to. And people didn't want to hear that. It was a really big moment at the time because this was in the late 90s, early 2000s, when people really weren't talking about aging at all. And that was also when people were really afraid of getting Alzheimer's disease. It was, the new big thing after HIV. And so at that moment, pivoting to try to talk about something positive was something that was a big thing that I was going to have to overcome and get people interested in.
Yeah, wow. And what a great question to help you, see that and be able to, work through it. Realistically, when you think about it, just breaking that question down for a moment, is without hope, people don't aspire to a future.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's really what happens. And I can very much relate to your information, and Ben can share his story, but my mom suffered with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's before she passed away. And so we saw the devastation that occurs within the individual. But my dad, who was in perfect mental capacities, we had to help create hope for him.
Yeah.
Because he had to see that whatever mom was going through was not his future, that was her future. And that what role we play with her through that future was all about her comfort. And he was such a tough man growing up. He was like the oak. He was like the Brazilian oak that's strong, where termites can't even get in and eat the wood away. I mean, that was the guy who was so caring when it came to my mom and did everything that he felt he needed to do for her comfort. And so his future was not really based on worrying about whether he would get Alzheimer's, but it was taking care of her.
Yeah.
And so he had this future that never would have happened had we have not really focused on what his role would be, in moving forward. And then just caring for mom and making sure that everything we did was about her comfort.
Yeah.
And my side of things, grandparents that I had no grandparents live past the age of 72, 73. And at 99, my grandfather passed as second longest living on record at 99 years with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So he passed at 71, but my dad is now 70. And I will publicly say it that he whipped my butt when he came to visit at pickleball. He is agile, mobile, quicker than all get out. And so that actually gives me so much hope to see that he's at his father's age. But I mean, my grandfather got diagnosed in the early 80s, when they weren't really sure. And I remember driving with him in the car when I was 5 years old. And so, but to see how with it he can be, so that gave me a different path to say, okay, this could be what's looking forward to, and not that. So I definitely resonate there. Next question on that is, though, what did that conversation cost you? Maybe not funny. What may have been financial because you had some direction, but what did it cost you professionally, personally, social capital wise, internally with stress? Like overall, what did that conversation, when you realized that you had to flip the coin, what did it cost you?
It cost me internally, me questioning myself in many ways, because here I built something out of nothing. Where I was collaborating with large universities like Columbia University and other places and getting a ton of grants. I just had a book. I made my name on all the negative things, that we had to look forward to, and that really aren't our future, but that's all the media was talking about. That was all the research that was getting out there. And I had to internalize that and say, oh my gosh, I left out the other side of the coin. So personally, I felt like I missed the mark. And the second thing was I then had to, convince people that we had to look at the other side of the coin. And the only people that I knew at that time were people who were doing work looking at this negative stuff, because that was where the funding was coming from. You could get a grant on that. You could do stuff with that. So trying to convince people to talk about what we had to look forward to was a huge thing. Like I was at another dinner party, and it was with the media, and I said to them, it was a kind of a roundtable meeting where they got together with people who were in the field of aging, and I said, we need to focus on the positives. And they were like, go away. The only thing they were doing that was positive was, which I didn't and still don't think is positive, was taking older adults, and people would take pictures of people who were really elaborately dressed in the streets, kind of cartoonish, and saying, here's, aging and it's positive. And I was saying, no, make it normal. Like, we're all looking to, age like we are now and get it out there. And it was a really hard struggle because I was kind of the one that was screaming in the wind. And it was a time that when you looked at Google and did a Google search, it was only frailty and things that would scare a person. If you typed in the word old man, you would get like stories of people who were robbed or, in a wheelchair, or things like that, that no one wanted to read and really isn't our future. So when I had to do that, it really made me think about not doing research the way I was and leaving the work that I was doing. And ultimately I did. I left that area of work and started working in a new area. So that was a big pivot for me, and a scary one.
So individuals who are listening to the podcast, they are thinking now, what did it take for you to actually get to have the courage to make the change? Because all of your money, everything was riding on this negative side, but you had a personal conviction. That's what it sounds like. You had a personal conviction. Okay, great. So with your personal conviction, so what does it take for a person who has to do this pivot? Like, what do they have to think about, or maybe what sort of characteristics do they need to have, value systems they need to have to be able to say, oh my gosh, I can't keep going down this path because I know this is not where it really ends?
I had to be okay with people not liking me. And that's a hard thing. That is not fun. So the people who were at the top, I was kind of at the top, like mid top of the workplace. It was a 705 bed facility, and we were working also with 400 some odd people in the community. And I'm working with these organizations that are relying on me, and that, it's kind of the center of what's making things happen. They were all mad at me. I was like, I don't want to do more work on Alzheimer's disease. I don't want to work on frailty. I want to work on positive things. And so I was disappointing people. And if when you describe something, it feels like, oh, okay, well, she disappointed people. Well, I had to go in every day and look at them while they were disappointed in me. Yeah. And it doesn't feel good. So that was where I would say that was the hardest part. And I finally said, I can either come in here every day and look at people being like, no, you really need to stick with the gravy train, which is, bringing in millions of dollars in money for grants and things like that, but staying in a line that didn't bring me fulfillment, that made me feel like nobody's doing this other side. I want to get out there and do it. Mm-hmm. So what I did was, on the side, I was doing what I really enjoyed. And part of that was doing research in another area, setting that up with a different organization. But I also did a blog back when people weren't really doing them. It was brand new. And so I was doing one, and I didn't realize it was getting picked up by large corporations, because you couldn't really track that then in a big way. And so it was called Imagine Age, and we brought in experts to talk about things in aging that were positive. Some of it wasn't, but most of it was, like how you can get over things, including finance stuff. And it was making an impact. And so I felt like I could leave my job. And although this other thing wasn't bringing in money or the things that I had before, I was able to go to that and say, I'm going to use this as a building block for something else, because there wasn't a place to go do the work that I wanted to do. So I utilized that and got another research job on the side that covered, more of the finance stuff. But that was a scary move for me, because
So
I was
now,
doing pretty well.
so it's really great. Thank you so much for that level of detail and sharing that. So now looking back, do you think there's an opportunity, or what is the opportunity? Better question. What is the opportunity for both of those researches to coexist at the same time?
I think that had I gone in and said, now, mind you, I was also president of the State Society on Aging. I was really active in the field. I was doing a lot, and I was traveling like 8 times a year to conferences. But I think that had I gone in with a bigger picture of what I was looking at and not just having tunnel vision, had I gone in and said, that life is not one side of a coin, that I could have set it up differently,
Mm,
that I could have made the foundation stronger. So I would say, here's one aspect of what life could be. We should never expect to be depressed when we get older. Can it happen? Yes, but you can get better.
yeah.
We shouldn't expect that our future is doom and gloom. It's just not. And that, had I come in and said, you know what, I'm going to do a little of this and a little of this, so I have both sides of the coin, I think that people would have accepted it and they would have been okay with it. But I didn't even think of it. I didn't even like, it wasn't even in my mind.
Think as a target audience for that message, in my mid 40s now, there's a change in my mindset where I realize every morning of the decisions that I make determine what kind of 60, 70-year-old I'm going to be. And I think that probably sets in because I've read lots of articles on it and talking to friends that, yeah, they're all in the same boat, right? You lived a certain way in your 30s, but 40s things just start changing. But they want to hear that hope. But they need the examples of the good ones, because, and I believe it's out there now based on probably your work and others. We're seeing, 70-year-olds doing Spartan races and things like that. And those are no longer the exception.
Yeah.
I think the idea of understanding the mobility and how much having strong thighs and all these things make a difference on that. And so I love that your message is out there, because personally, I'm keenly aware of knowing that I can be an agile 70-year-old like my father, or other folks that have trouble getting out of the car. So I think that needs to be out there. It's great.
It is a lot about our personal choices that we make, and realizing that those choices you need to be making positive choices early on, not just waiting until there is a problem before you decide that you're going to now make a change. I mean, obviously, it's maybe never too late, but I always think about being more proactive. And I think about that in like leadership and things that we do. And I suspect that your lessons that you've learned from this, you've moved forward. So how now have you taken the lessons that you learned from this and now applied them to this new business, this new opportunity that you're going to pursue?
I'm really trying to talk to people and say, where are the flaws in this and where else do I need to look?
Oh, brilliant.
Because I honestly think I could fall into the same trap and say, ooh, shiny, let me go down this route. It looks like this could be successful, but I only have my eyes. So I'm asking all sorts of people and saying, where do you think that I could go wrong with this? And people are happy enough to tell me. And I think they are, in general, happy enough to tell somebody. But, in the past, I never asked. I was like,
Right.
I've got this. And
And
now I know I don't.
And if you hear the information and you encourage it and don't defend it, so like if you become defensive about the information that you hear, then it shuts people off. But a couple of really good leadership things that you've talked about today that I just want to kind of have an opportunity just to recap for folks. And one of them was likability. I will tell you, likability is overrated as a leader. if your focus is about being liked instead of how you're dealing with individuals' needs and focusing on them and moving the things forward, then you definitely are skewed in many ways. You can be respected, and then that likability can become a part of it. But I think it's so much more important to be respected in your field, respected as a leader for the fairness, consistency that you have. Are you building a cohesive team where people feel included, where they feel valued because the work they're doing is meaningful, that they can do collaborative activities together so that they really create trust, within that group? I think that's really important. And then the other thing is asking, being teachable, being wise enough to say, I don't know everything. I need some help with this. I want you to share where you think that I should go or what I should do, and valuing those opinions. And the important thing about that is you can't just casually do it. Like when you talked about a dinner party, I want to make sure that the listeners understand this was a dinner party, I'm assuming, that was cultivated by individuals of like-mindedness who were getting together to have similar conversations about something. This wasn't just a friend list that people walked down the friend list and said, oh, I'll take my neighbor 2 doors down. I have somebody I work with here might, want to come and eat with us. These were people who were together at that type of dinner party. So I want to clear that up. And then, so when you're asking for help, when you say to someone, it can't just be a person on the street. Well, unless it is a street topic that somebody could answer. But for what you were talking about, it has to be someone that you feel that you're going to get qualified information back from. Yeah. And the one thing that that Ben and I teach in our coaching and our work with leaders is you really want to look for grounding boards, not sounding boards. Yeah. And I define them separately like this. A grounding board will tell you the truth. They're going to tell you stuff that you need to hear. A sounding board may more than likely just repeat what they already think you know, or what they think is more pleasant for you to hear. So really looking for those trusted advisors who are going to tell you the truth, that takes a little bit of courage, and it takes some time.
I love that you pointed all of that out, because it's all so true. That was a conference that I was at with the dinner party. And I have had to learn over time that, I can't come in and please everybody. Likability is, you want to be nice to people, right? But you also have to make sure that being nice isn't that it's going to ruin your company, because you can't please everybody all the time. That's one thing I was able to learn early on. And that's another thing that I would say is a tricky one, because nobody wants to walk into a room and feel like people don't like you, but respect feels good. And that's, I think, the place where if you can land there, that is the way to go, is to feel like you're respected. And that has a likability component to it, because most people feel good and comfortable around somebody that they respect. So people will probably say, that they would know that I don't just run around willy-nilly doing things to please others, but that I do things because I think that I've talked to people, I've gotten consultations with individuals, and I try to make sure that as many people as possible are able to benefit from it, as opposed to not. And that was really learned, because when I founded the Mentor Project, it was bringing in all really elite top leaders in their fields, like astronauts and Nobel Prize nominees, and everybody there is used to being at the top. So what do you do when you herd a bunch of cats that are all at the top? You can't go in with, I'm going to have everybody like me. And it's an interesting road. So I really got to learn that was something that I had to make sure that I got was respect right away, as opposed to likability.
Yeah, and I want to just clarify a couple of things too, just that goes back with our teaching. So one of the things when you talked about being nice, we just want to tweak that a little bit. And what we want to focus on is being kind, because being kind is telling people the truth in a way in which they can hear it. And niceness comes along with kindness. Yeah. But niceness does not always have kindness.
That's true.
Niceness could just be especially if you're from the South, it could be a bless your heart moment where, you're not really telling somebody the real truth. You're kind of telling them a little bit of what they want to hear, like that sounding board versus the grounding board. So we really encourage the kindness. And then the other thing that you talked about in the being nice when you're with this group is exhibiting manners. So manners is one thing. Manners is not necessarily niceness. Manners is just how you interact with individuals, respecting people's levels of authority, listening to what they have to say, being an active listener, making eye contact, asking questions, repeating information. I mean, all those are good manners that you want to incorporate into it. But it's the kindness that you want to exhibit to individuals where you get a chance to tell them the truth in a way in which they can hear it. If you bulldoze the truth in, then you will not get the same result as you will when you have really considered how do they need to hear the message. And I think that is what's so important with your research, is how you tell the kindness of your research in a way in which people can hear that information and they can understand not only what might be the negative or downside of it, but also the positive side that can come with it. So so it's really good.
So Deborah, your research and your moment led to a pivot. You talked about wanting to own your values in the sense that it brings life to you because you were no longer enjoying or getting energy from it. But the likability part and respect, what can you frame that into advice for? A lot of our listeners are younger folks that are employed that may not have the ability of going out and starting their own thing. How do they utilize this when they realize, oh, maybe I'm not in the right career field or something? How do you position that advice to somebody that's trying to grow, trying to move up the ranks, but can't do their own thing?
So I looked outside of where I was. So I was kind of at the top of where I was. So I didn't have somebody to say, let me grab onto something within the organization. But I did get really involved in outside organizations. So some of the top, aging communities, I became, a board member. I became really active in those because I was then able to find out where can I find where there's something I can grab onto, maybe an opportunity in the future. Maybe it's that I just need to feel like I have people who understand what I'm thinking about and talking about. So, I was young, I was in my 30s, and that's when, all of this was happening. So the one thing I can say is to look to lateral mentors, which is what I did. And a lateral mentor is looking to your left and looking to your right. And especially if you are in a place where you don't feel like it's your home, you're not going to go up to somebody 2 levels above you and be like, hey, I know I don't share your values, but let's, communicate. But oftentimes we can do that when we look to the left and look to the right. And we find somebody then that we can share our vulnerabilities with, that I could say, I can let my hair down with you, because you don't affect my job in any way, but you can affect my mental health in a way where I can feel better about this. And that's where I found that people then said, I want to write with you. I want to start little side projects with you. That wasn't a change in my job right away, but it made me have the ability to go in every day, for another few years to say, okay, I'm going to keep riding this out until I can see a different path. And lateral mentoring is I think the key to that.
It provided an outlet for you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It's really good. And oftentimes that's where coaches can come in and get an individual who can work with you because they're not writing your performance evaluation. They're not creating your merit increase. They should be working to help you achieve your greatness, not their greatness. And sometimes in an organization, even a mentor within an organization is sometimes trying to groom you to be like them instead of helping you develop who you are as a person and bring that forward. So this has just been such a great, lively conversation. Where can folks connect with you?
You can connect through, I have a book, The Mentorship Edge, which you can get anywhere you buy books. You can connect with me at deborahheiser.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I write for Psychology Today, so you can find me there. And I'm on all sorts of social media. Just look up Deborah Heiser.
Okay, good. And for listenings, that's DEBORAH and HEISER last name. All right. So one thing we like to ask is, what was a question you thought we would ask you that we didn't?
I think that, you know what? You guys were good. I don't think you left anything off the table here.
Were we perfect?
I would say you guys were 9.5 out of 10.
Okay, 9.5 out of 10. Okay.
Take it.
And that's really good. Anytime anyone says that I'm perfect, I have them repeat it again just in case my wife is listening. So that's great. Okay, good. So we figured out where to get to. Okay, we did that. So with that, we'd like to end our program with a mantra that we do for every one of our programs. And that is, you don't have to know everything.
Just need to be teachable.